Gee, great folks, hope you're all keeping well. I'm in County Clare in a place called the Burren, a location I haven't been in about 10, maybe 15 years. As I'm standing here amongst all this wonderful limestone with these amazing patterns, I'm kicking myself going, what has kept me getting back here? Stunning place, beautiful light today. I'm going to try and capture one or two compositions, but in the meantime I'm going to trek it across the formations of the rocks here and look for a composition. I'm hoping for a bit more rain to kind of make that grey more wet, make the things and make it pop a bit more. But there's beautiful shapes here that really lend themselves to a wide angle lens. So I'm going to get that on and see if I can find a composition that works. In the meantime, look at this absolutely stunning place. The ground is really uneven, but it's so much it's a photographic feast for the eyes. Everywhere you look, up, down, everywhere, there's pictures to be found. I've come across this tree, but I've tried verticals and now try a horizontal, and I just think the horizontal works better. There's a better balance to the scene, and the light is ever changing so quickly. So through the camera, you can see my composition. I'm making use of the cracked earth here on the left hand side, tree slightly off right, and the distant hill in the background there is silhouetted, and is ever changing, so the composition is never the same.
So here's the raw file. The image was captured with my beloved 16 to 35mm lens with a shutter speed of about 1/125th of a second. I've been sitting in this image for a week. A couple of things have bugged me about it. The treetop on the right hand side does nothing for me, and I felt the foreground, while interesting, was just a little bit cluttered. So I've played around with a number of crops and eventually settled on a crop that looks like this. Processing the image was relatively quick in Lightroom. Simply, I darkened the sky and the background held slightly using the gradient tool and made some local adjustments to bring out the highlights and some of the clouds within the sky. In the foreground, I increased the contrast and used the HSL slider within Lightroom to adjust the saturation in those grasses in the foreground. The resulting crop this week works for me, though I suspect in the coming months I'll flip-flop on that. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Ow! Fuck. This is not going well. I don't know what it is, but it's just the composition I'm finding aren't really working for me. I've got one image that I think is halfway decent, but I think it's time for the world famous Campbell soup. Get my thoughts together and go back out. Another 3.5 hours till last night, so plenty of time. But this is not going well. Things just got a little bit wet there, so just gone 6:30. The Campbell soup has gone down well, the body's energized, and I'm back out looking for a composition that hopefully works. The rain that just passed through there has kind of made the limestone really wet and lethally slippy, but it's kind of helped create contrast in the stonework. So what I've got a composition looking back on the two hills that dominate this area. The names I forget, so I put them up above, and I'm getting that 16 to 35mm lens on, getting it down low and using some of the diagonal lines flowing back towards those hills to try and make an interesting composition.
From under the cover of a cheap Penny's umbrella, I tried a mix of both vertical and horizontal compositions. Not exactly an easy thing to do when the rain is literally coming down in sheets. Processing the image was done in Lightroom and involved darkening and boosting the contrast in the sky, while in the foreground I used local adjustments to bring out the textures in the rocks and to increase the contrast in that wonderful limestone. Finally, and partly down to my own stupidity, note the tripod on the left, I settled on a square crop to help keep the eye focused. That large crack in the foreground brings the eye down through the scene to the distant hills and that magical rainbow that is dancing across this stunning landscape.
Okay folks, I think that's it for today. Absolutely drenched. I look like I've crawled out of the lake behind me there. Wringing wet. What a magical half an hour, that 40 minutes that was. Soaked, like absolutely soaked to the bone. But when that light popped through, it was absolutely stunning. Pure magic. It just does not get much better than that. Composition, I'm not sure if it really works or not, but that lead-in line through the limestone towards that hill, and nature realistically did the rest with the conditions, the light, the rainbows. Absolutely stunning. Really glad I came from here today. Stunning.